Hello and howdy there, kids. Here to talk about the film Escape from Tomorrow. And I thought it was rather interesting, pretty original, I guess, but nothing fantastic. I think I'll go ahead and give it a solid 6. I think it's fine. I'm not necessarily recommending this film, but if you're a fan of horror films, just a fan of kind of experimental, surrealistic, atmospheric mood pieces, then I would definitely recommend this to you. But it's not for the average Joe, I think. I would say you have to be pretty patient, pretty patient. I was trying to remember the name of the filmmaker. I wanted to say Moore, Randy Moore, maybe. I think I'm wrong. Maybe I have the Moore right, but I don't think it's Randy. It's basically a midlife crisis. Well, maybe I should tell you the gimmick of the film. The gimmick of the film is that this is filmed in, I believe, both Disney World and Disneyland. Covertly. You're not allowed. I mean, I've never been to Disney World or Land in my adult life. I went there as a small child, and I mean, well, I don't know if was ever small, but as a young child, I maybe around the age of 6. I think I went to Disney World, which is in Florida. Went to Disney World, Epcot, again around the age of 6. I just have the faintest of memories of Disney World, and really it's kind of more like feelings. I can remember the feeling of being in Disney World more than I can actually remember being there. I guess you can't film or do much in, Disney World Land is notorious for their security. Even their rumored underground city. I don't think it's even rumored. I think it's pretty much proven fact that there's an underground, city under Disneyland. So I don't know. You can't. It's very strict. You can't get away with much there. But somehow they managed to film an entire film there without Disneyland security, Disney World security knowing. This entire film is shot by small cameras, everyone kind of pretending to be tourists. It's very kind of gonzo, it's a gonzo, to use Hunter S. Thompson's phrase. It's a very gonzo type film. Off the cuff, and that kind of makes the film suffer somewhat. I mean, sometimes the acting is a little weird. Sometimes the camera angles are a little odd. I think it works with the story, works with the film, but just sometimes it's like, hey, we have to be careful about shooting this movie because we're not allowed to be doing it. I'm giving it a full point for that. I'm giving it a full point that it, basically thumbs its nose at, at the rules, wants to do something new, utilizes these new small digital cameras, in interesting and kind of covert ways, and all in order to make art. It's kind of like street art in a way. This is kind of like a graffiti film. At least it feels that way. So I'm giving that a full point. If it weren't for that, the brazen balls and the filmmakers and that idea, if it weren't for that idea, then maybe this would be kind of a 5 for me. But I think that idea and originality kind of, trumps anything. The movie is about basically a midlife crisis. It's basically a midlife crisis. You got a guy, family, wife, 2 kids, going on the proverbial family vacation to Disney World, and well, things start to fall apart. I really can't describe it much more than that. A lot of nothing happens, but then occasionally something will happen, and it's weird, and it's not great for them. You know, it reveals little hints at a much deeper and darker world that exists around Disney World. You know, it's very atmospheric. It makes the park kind of a character. That, you know, the place itself is kind of evil. You know, that it basically just kind of weasels its way into the psyche, and then, you know, twists, you know, whatever you see, whatever you feel. Or is it just growing old? You know, oh my God, I'm old. I brought my family to Disney World. You know, again, it's all existential. You know, it's existential dread really permeates, and whether things are happening literally or figuratively in this film, you know, it's very difficult. There's a lot of symbolism going on here. Again, it's very surreal. I don't really want to compare it to David Lynch, but I guess there's no way I can't. It is Lynch-esque. I mean, it has shades of Lynch, but certainly doesn't approach his mastery of tone, and it's certainly not as gorgeous as a David Lynch film, nor near as disturbing. You know, this is more comical. My biggest beefs with the film are that it's very surreal, you know, and atmospheric, but sometimes I just felt like I was watching people's vacation video. It's like, hey, you know, I've got invited to my friend's party, and the whole point of the party is for them to show you videos and photos and slides of their vacation. You know, you can picture that and you're like, oh, okay, great. But this time it's like people I don't know. They're total strangers, and they've trapped me in their house and are showing me their vacation videos and photos. And I'm like, okay, you know, when is this going to be over? You know, when is this going to be over? There was like a 20-minute stretch in the film where I really felt that way, where nothing much was going on, and I was like, what am I doing here? You know, what am I doing here? Also, you know, it's going to be, you know, it's totally individual, but the payoff for the film, the climax, is a kind of like a, what? Instead of a big, you know, gut punch or terrifying scenario, something incredibly absurd happens. And it is absurd, and it's kind of funny, and again, I believe it's symbolic. I can't, after one viewing, pretend to have a, you know, critique on this is what the filmmaker meant by that. I have no clue. It was just kind of, it was definitely absurd and a little funny, but to have it be the payoff after 90 minutes of commitment, I was just kind of like, all right, okay, fine. I just was like, you know, okay. So I guess that's kind of my 2 biggest beefs, is just that vacation photo experience, and then the just payoff being not, you know, a payoff. It looked good, the cinematography. That's what was most, again, I go back to that whole, they can't be doing this, but yet the film looks good. The film was well shot. It looked good. It's in black and white, and it looked good. It looked really good. Sometimes, there's some definite cheese. I felt that it was enduring, but there was some really bad green screen work. I mean, there's no other way to describe it other than bad CGI green screen work. But still, I didn't. It made everyone in the theater laugh. And we had a good crowd. It was a good crowd. I would say the theater, it was a smaller theater, but it was probably about a quarter full. Good crowd, and everyone, laughed. It was like a big laugh when the green screen worked. There was two really standout scenes with it, and it just is hilariously bad, and people were laughing at the film. I don't really necessarily know if they were laughing with it, but they were definitely laughing at it. I felt that it was enduring. Again, it's a very low-budget, micro-budget, independent horror movie, so there's going to be some bad special effects in there somewhere. That's kind of true to the genre. This is just stands out a little bit more. It was just like, oh, man. The acting was fine. It wasn't fantastic. It never, again, for what they were doing, I think the acting was just fine. There's, again, staying true to the genre. This is a low-budget horror film, so the acting is not going to be superb. But I thought it, was fine. It's just the story. It just never. They seem to introduce a lot of interesting ideas, and it never committed to fully engaging and exploring those ideas, and that it just teased you with them. And I was just like, ooh, well, okay, now it's going to get interesting. This is definitely not normal. But then it just kind of went to the back seat and continued on with the family vacation story. So it just kind of kept teasing me that it was going to be cooler and scarier than what it was, but it never did anything. That's just, I guess, what's wrong with it, in my opinion. I very much enjoyed how it, played on that Disneyland. Everything is wonderful. Everything is happy. You go on family vacations, and you kind of, after a while, have to work at it being spectacular and happy and beautiful, because you just at each other's throats. At least my family was. You get in a van for a few days and you're gonna fucking bite each other. So I did appreciate that whole, play on the whole Disneyland mythos and what they stand for. I enjoyed that, kind of, kick in the pants, I suppose. A little, fuck you to Disney World. I can't think of much else to say. I think I've said everything I've got. I had an okay time. Again, very impressive for the idea and the execution. Kudos for that. I just wish that the story would have gotten a little bit more scary, weird, just going more into depth of just, they show you these very interesting things and they just scratch the surface on it and you're like, okay, this is where it's going to go, but then it doesn't go there. And then the final end payoff is just like, okay, whatever, fine, I don't really get it, but all right. I think I get it, but it's just like, all right, okay, fine. So yeah, there you go. I think I've said pretty much enough. I recommend this for horror movie aficionados. People who want to see something different, people who want to see something new and daring, risky. I would definitely check it out, but don't expect to see something amazingly great. But it's definitely, I would say, mostly worth the time. It should be seen at least once to appreciate that someone fucked over Disneyland. I think that's pretty awesome. So there you go. That's Escape from Tomorrow, and I give it a solid 6. Thanks much.